I guess no more chicken run from Malaysia. Did you
Yep.
last hear? Malaysia's not exporting any more of the chicken because they're having supply issues within the country itself. So, do you think Singapore will be seeing a dearth of chicken?
No, I think there will be an increase of price for chickens, be it the raw or the cooked chicken.
I guess more like fresh chicken from Malaysia, unless you are so used to buying frozen chicken at supermarkets, then you will not be affected.
But what's causing this supply issue?
The grains that are coming in to feed the chicken in
Mm.
Malaysia, think because of supply chain issues, it's
So-
not.
So basically, it's like a pandemic 2.0. We had we had the COVID issue where export, import, the whole logistics supply chain was affected. And then, Singaporeans are rushing for your toilet rolls or your basic necessities. And now we're coming back to the same thing. There's no chicken coming in.
But I don't think Singapore actually takes our chicken only from Malaysia, because what I know is that about 39% chicken from Malaysia, and actually almost half of our chicken comes from Brazil.
Yeah, but it still be a shock, we still have so much. 40% is quite a fair bit. And from what we've heard, the media, the storeholders, either they're going to close, and the usual thing, price increase. This year we had price increase everywhere. Petrol, now chicken, other basic necessities.
So it
We
becomes
are
a
in trouble.
speculation. Oh, no more chicken. Then I close. Then people panic. Then people starts to buy. Then the demand goes up, but the price go up. I think the suppliers for the chicken food is creating an artificial demand. Say, oh, not enough. Then they hold it for a while and raise up the price. Then they sell it. I thought it's a business strategy.
We had issues most recently was with the eggs. We had undersupply, price went up, and then now we have oversupply, price went down. Can we or authorities or those various associations better manage this? There's too much shocks and price in the market.
But how to manage when we are not controlling the output? We are importing those food, right? Be it the chicken, be it the beef, be it anything, right? The moment the supplier just choke it, how do we deal with it internally?
But I guess we have to diversify where we get our food from. Food safety, because what I know is that SFA actually has several food sources from different parts of the world, rather than just only relying on Malaysia.
I know, but we have seen this. We lived through 2 years of COVID, and it's only during the COVID that we realized that we need to be independent. So I think that's where the government launched this green initiative to grow your own food, your vertical farming. I think we really need to double up. The new generation of leaders in the civil service, in the government, and even private sector. I think we need to come together, because this kinds of shocks is just going to get more prevalent. We know the industrialization and globalization really helped bring down prices, but on the flip side, we have countries like, I think you mentioned, India or now Malaysia, restricting export to support domestic demand. And then small countries or trading countries like us who solely depend on imports of food supplies, we are in trouble. So I think we really need to be a little bit more independent in how we grow, how we live, how we fuel ourselves, everything, to be independent.
How do we grow those food? We don't even have enough capacity to support the 6 or 8 million that we have now. If we're going to grow into a 10 million city, where's the land?
That's where we have to be really, I don't have the solutions, but the solutions are out there in terms of how we develop, how we design I think the home ground, we had sustainability design in terms of construction, but I think we need to even look at communities, landscape, how we build, how we make use of land, how we multiply the effects of the use of land. I mean, there were some studies that they put in solar panels, but if you put the solar panels of a certain height, you can actually grow agriculture below the land. So I think we really, really need to look at that, and it is a real 180-degree view on how we build HDB blocks, how we use of land, how we build roads. We have no choice. I mean, the shocks are just going to keep coming and coming and coming, and we need to start now.
I've recently been to a retired vet's house, Dr. Tan Hua Lak, and his place, it's self-sustaining because he has tilapia in the ponds, and then whatever waste the fishes have goes to fertilize his vegetable garden. So then he has vegetables, he has fish, and a couple of chicken running around. So he gets his eggs and of course his chicken. So can we actually have something like that? Because look, Dr. Tan has a huge land, but most of us still live in HDB flats or high-rise flats. So where do we actually get the land?
I mean, it's urban farming. It has been proven that you can have vegetables grown, hydroponics and stuff. I would say dual use. We have dual use football fields where the school uses it and then the public comes in. Can we have dual use land where we raise up the field, for example, and then grow vegetables below it? Because yes, we have finite amount of land, but we need to really, really think. I mean, where was it? Sin the new JC, I think it's Innova. Their track is raised, and below it is your CCs and stuff. So we need to really start looking at more multi-layered construction, where you can still grow UV lights and stuff like that. But if we don't start thinking like that, we will always have not enough land.
But land is still limited, dual or not. So what do you think about buying land from other countries, like what Singapore did with Indonesia when it bought Bulan and set up its pig farm there?
Do we still have it?
Yes.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's a smart move. The key challenge is being able to transport it back. No harm. I mean, I will go even one step further and look at floating farms. During the oil crisis or when oil prices drop, all the super tankers were filled with oil and were just sitting in international waters. Because it was cheaper to rent a super carrier, a tanker, than to sell it. And yet millions and millions of this oil floating around waiting for the price to go up. So I think we just have to think out of the box and not be afraid.
We are a center for research, internationally known. What if all those countries that supply rice decided like, no, I'm not going to do it to Singapore? Should we start looking for alternative food, doing research, looking for food that will be an alternate to rice, to meat, to proteins, and so forth? So artificial foods for Singaporeans, are we ready for it?
We're already growing meat on Petri dishes.
But it's not enough to feed 6 million.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive, yes.
And it's costly, right? So how do we feed the nation if disasters were to struck the whole major supply countries?
I would say education. When we were growing up, we had water rationing, civil defense exercises. I think we should bring it back and introduce food as a national defense experience where, hey, we are all going to have dried eggs, powdered eggs, or we just need to educate, to create awareness and the palatability of the food, you know, or could we go on a water diet, or stuff like that. It does educate, open up options so that people say, hey, yeah, I really like it. Or should the time come like now, alternative chicken, frozen chicken. I don't know. I mean, it's all a nation building, nation experience. I mean, we all know, we all used to, the tanker come, everybody bring your pail, collect water, and then we bring it back. We shower with the pail. I mean, we don't have that anymore. And
no, can you imagine some of us cringing like, oh, pail shower? Yeah,
no, but I think it's needed from a national defense, and it does build that resilience and that confidence that, hey, anything goes wrong, we can stand on our own 2 feet.
Or we can have a campaign to say eat less, 1 meal a day. I mean, the Hindus fast, the Muslim fast, the Buddhists do fast. You eat certain food and they still live, right? 1 meal a day, 1 full meal per day, or maybe the A star could come out like you eat 1 meal at 8 a.m. It would last you until 8 p.m. and you still remain healthy, right? So maybe we can look into that.
Yeah.
That's intermittent fasting, isn't it?
Yeah, same. I mean, I know the older generation who eat alternate days.
Yeah. So you can't see any obese cases anymore in Singapore, right?
Yeah, I think we just need to not react. We have that. I got a feeling if you go to the chicken rice store today, there'll be long queues. I think that belief and that the removal of the fear of lack of necessities or lack of certain types of food, then it'll be a lot better in terms of the mindset, the livelihood, the whole approach to living in Singapore.
I think we should believe that you won't die not eating chicken. You won't die not eating meat. It's just a luxury, but you will die if you don't drink water. So that's basic. But we are a first world nation, right? You are number one almost in every aspect of living, of the economy, and you can't supply enough food for your people. What does that tell you?
The other thing is there shouldn't be fear mongering. Once when you hear, oh, Malaysia is not sending its chicken or its eggs over, then there's this fear mongering in some of the mainstream media where they start saying stalls are closing down because of not enough chicken coming in. Stalls are not closing down because you can always get frozen chicken from supermarkets, chicken coming in from Brazil. You still have KFC, Jollibee. You don't see those places closing down.
I hope not.
Then there's also the alternative, fish. Yes, chicken has been touted as the alternative for beef, for pork, because it's healthier, it's white meat. So's fish. So why not take fish?
I think if this is a business stunt from countries that supply all this food, then we need to take it by the horn and say, okay, no chicken, then we will eat beef. No beef, we will eat veggie. No veggie, we will eat something else. It's all about surviving. I mean, Singapore also has a very big or very high index of people wasting food every year.
Yes.
Isn't it about time that we go like, okay, eat what you can chew? All right, something like that. Then, you eat small, eat less, stay slim, and see if there is no food if you don't eat the same food for 3 days, can you live without it? Can you survive it? It's all a matter of habit, right? We need to change our habit, and we do not need the government to guide us on how to change our eating habit. We must be ready. But I think a national campaign about eat less, stay healthy should be one of it, in case we have, I wouldn't call it a disaster, we have crisis like this. Eat less, stay slim, if you can.
How can we help the stall owners? It's a niche group that they sell chicken, the wet markets and stuff. how can we or Singaporeans or the government help them? I think Malaysia didn't fix a time frame, and there's a difference between the live chickens and the frozen chickens. I think Brazil probably is a frozen chicken. So how can we support them? We all talk about digitization, where we go into the new economy. But if you were at a primary level of industry where you actually deal with these raw materials, I mean, how can we help them?
In the first place, if they're in trouble, perhaps they can sort of like get subsidy for their rental for the stalls, because after all, they're not getting any income, no chicken coming in.
Okay. Or we can tell them, you need to start thinking about the opposing menus. If you sell chicken, in case something happens, you need to introduce, let's say, all veggie meal, something like that, and all fish meal. So you have the meat here and you have the fish here. You need to introduce it slowly, all the alternative meat. So in case something happens, you still have this. Food is all about getting used to it. So
But
they need to be ready.
if there is a stipulated regulation that you rent the stall for chicken, you have to sell chicken. So instead of selling fresh chicken, you can always do the alternative, sell frozen chicken.
So moving forward, and I think the authority needs to look at this and see how we can survive, right? Because hawker culture is unique only to ASEAN or Singapore, Malaysia, primarily. So you need to give us alternative. So if I can sell chicken, can I sell alternative protein-based food? Just in case crisis were to strike us again.
For me, I mean, I will add to that. We really need a national plan. We have solutions for growing vegetables. Agri-Farm. I think they set up how many $1 million, and I think we're moving quite fast. And we have our farms, fish farms, in our neighborhood. We really need to relook. I mean, all the Punggol pig farms, the Yio Chu Kang, Lim Chu Kang, I think it was duck chicken farms. I think we really need to revisit that and look at other countries. I think there must be a humane, high-tech way
I
grow.
don't think the pig farms will come back because of the sewage problems.
No, I mean, that's where you talked about recycling. I mean, we have reached a certain level of technological advance where it's an ecosystem. The waste is fertilizer. How can we channel it into a multi-layer vegetable pig farm or animal farm, and then recycle that whole thing? It is an investment, but we have to look at it, but it has to be in a humane way, because diseases spread very fast in a confined space, and it's just time to look at technology, quality of life for the animal. They are dying for food for us. But we just need that commitment and say, hey, we're going to invest $10-20 million to build this multi-level complex and just change the whole way and be a leader. Singapore is a leader in so many areas, and most recently being water, our water purification, and we're starting to export that. And it is such crisis that humans and will think out of the box. We need to.
So as for now, I think vertical farming for veggies would work because you don't need the veggies to run free.
You don't need soil.
Yeah, to run free. But when you want to handle the chicken or the cows or the goats, so as to say, they need to run free. If you have vertical farming, yes, it might work. Like Tampines cluster, this block 800 or 600 odd will have this cluster. You buy meat from that farm. So every cluster have their own vertical farm, right? But it's different when it comes to livestock.
I think can. I mean, you I don't know. I keep thinking of crypto mining where you have levels of servers. I mean, you can have a big football field, 10 stories high, and you can create that space to run. And there's no reason why you cannot create an artificial grassland, for example, and multi-level. We can do it for ice skating, we can do it for football. Why can't we just create? And I think we have always overcome crisis, Singapore. So the last time when we stopped importing sand, we started to build our I don't know, landlocks. I think Lim Chu Kang, or they actually imported and they start storing. So we can actually
That's at
designate.
Tampines, right? When
It's,
you
it's, it's
drive
around the
across.
island. So we really need to start doing this and make the investment. It may not give us the returns, but we need to invest, because if we don't, I think we will never be secure. So we have fish farms. These are all success models, But even for fish farming, I think we're still very dependent on water, for cleanliness, aeration, disease, and all. Let's take those learnings, and then just build. Or worst kind of worst, find an abandoned multi-story complex or an abandoned HDB, knock down all the walls and see what we can do. Can be done.
Several abandoned schools.
Whatever. But the other thing is floating tankers. This is time where you get young people, old people in the industry to just think out of the box. Really think out of the box. Why can't we grow them on ships?
Well, I think the authorities or the government needs to explore this. It's just a suggestion about the floating cattle
Farm.
breeding sheep, just one big tanker. Or do we have any islands left that we can use to do all this as a pilot work? Because we really need to stay afloat and alive. If crises like this were to occur, what do we do? Do we panic like what we are doing right now? Or do we don't worry lah, we have other food sources? That security has not dawned upon us.
Yep. I feel it's a cost. A lot of decision makers are looking at the cost benefit, the analysis. I have a cheaper option. Why do I want to spend it now? But the problem is, you don't spend it now, you don't invest now, suddenly you need it. So even like all the Pandan Reservoir, I think we are building the largest, or we already built the largest on-water solar panel system. If we had made it a little bit higher, we could have grown something underneath. I mean, just thinking of hindsight, it's just that thinking out of the box, that we really need to do. And not saying that we haven't done it. We need a remaking Singapore plan, that is beyond economic, beyond social aspects. And now we're just needing to add in food security into that remaking Singapore. Then I think our children, the next generation, will have a little bit more security and less worry, and less panic buying at the supermarket.
So with your idea of floating farms and chicken farm, especially in one of these oil tankers, I guess tuna will no longer be known as chicken of the sea. Okay, thank you.